Thrasscot's Fairy Tale. Once upon a time, Thrasscot was playing in the monkey hole at Oakhill School when he noticed a strange-looking object half buried in the sand. He had a closer look and began to scratch the dirt away from around the object. As he uncovered more and more of the mysterious object, he noticed that it was glistening and sparkling. He managed to dig it out of the sand and examine it. It looked like a pointy stick, but it was not a stick from a tree, because when you looked at it, it seemed to change color from sparkly green to shiny blue to fiery red. What could it be? Thrasscot was so very excited about the strange, sparkly, shiny stick he had discovered, so he ran into his classroom to find Mrs. Frost and Mrs. Platt, and he said, "Excuse me, Mrs. Frost and Mrs. Platt, but I found this strange thing, and I'm wondering if anyone knows what it could be or who it belongs to." Immediately, Evan shouted, "That is definitely a magic wand." "Wow, a magic wand," said Thrasscot, and without thinking, he waved the wand all over the class and shouted, "Abracadabra!" Thrasscot did not expect anything to really happen. He did not expect the wand to be a real wand, but oh my goodness, when he looked up, the room seemed to be spinning and spinning, and there was a glowing light, and he could see all the children seemed to be sort of shrinking or growing or shining. There was sparkly dust everywhere, and suddenly it stopped. "Thank goodness," said Thrasscot. But then he realized something was terribly wrong. He looked to where his teachers had been standing. But now, instead of Mrs. Frost and Mrs. Platt standing there, there were two bears. They had turned into bears, big brown bears with long golden brown fur and big brown eyes that could see everything and big fluffy ears that could hear even the tiniest sound. The teacher bears were even wearing long grey coats, just like the teachers had been wearing at school that day. It was crazy. "Oh no, oh no, oh no," said Thrasscot. "This wand is really magic." And then he looked around the classroom and he could not believe his eyes. All his classmates in grade 1 had changed. All of them, every single one. But what had they changed into? Thrasscot got such a fright when he saw how all his friends had changed that he ran as fast as he could to Mr. Cross's office. "Sir, sir," he said, "something terrible has happened. I found a magic wand that was really, really real. Only I didn't know it was really, really real, and now I've changed everyone into all sorts of things." Mr. Cross thought for a moment, and then he said, "My dear Thrasscot, I think you've learned a valuable lesson today. You should have thought carefully before you shouted abracadabra. We've been looking for that magic wand for a long time. It is an ancient treasure that was found by some children many, many years ago at Oakhill, and it has been kept safe in my office all this time. But after lockdown, it went missing, and there were no children at school to help us find it. I am so glad that now you are back, you have managed to find the wand. I am very grateful." "Well, that is kind of very good news, Mr. Cross," said Thrasscot. "But what on earth are we going to do about the spell?" By now, poor Thrasscot was trying very hard not to cry. He kept thinking of all his friends' mummies and daddies coming to fetch their children, only to find that Mrs. Frost and Mrs. Platt were now great big brown bears, and all their friends were some other strange creature or animal or person. They were all different. Mr. Cross looked at Thrasscot and he said, "You see, Thrasscot, when we say or do something, it can have a very powerful effect on others, and once it is said, you can never take it back. But of course, with magic, things are different. So this time you are lucky because what you said can be taken back and reversed." Mr. Cross gave Thrasscot some words. He whispered them in his ear and told him to go back to the classroom, wave the wand, and say the words. So that is what he did. And this is what he said. "Magic wand, I now can see that words are as powerful as can be. Before I speak, I really should stop and think, are my words good? Are they kind and are they true? That is what I need to do. Magic wand, if you will, please take back my magic spell." And with a loud whoosh, and all at once, the class was back to normal. Thrasscot flopped down on the floor, exhausted from all the shock and excitement of the day. He took a big, deep breath and sighed an enormous sigh of relief and said, "Thank goodness. Wow, I certainly learnt a good lesson today. From now on, I will always think before I have something to say." The end.